Well, hello and welcome to Knitting Around LA. I'm Julie.
And I'm Judy, and I'm going to introduce our very special guest today, Martha Butler. Hi, Martha.
Hi.
Martha's joining us. Obviously, Julie and I live in LA. Martha is all the way from the East Coast. She's coming to us from Pinehurst, North Carolina. How's the weather out there, kiddo?
It's raining, but it's beautiful. It's not snowing.
Oh, right.
There's no ice.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
That's right. There's no ice. So we are happy about that.
Good. That's really, really good. Well, we want to welcome you. To those I guess who don't know about Martha and I. I'll just give a tiny backstory. She is going to be talking about her poetry today, but that's only one of many, many, many of Martha's accomplishments. But the first, and she'll tell us all about it because I'll make her. But I just got to let it, I feel I have to fess up to let everybody who is watching know that Martha and I go way back. We've been friends. I think, Martha, I did a little math, and we've been friends for 53 years.
Am I that old?
No. You were friends before you were born.
That's right. Because we're actually this year, Martha, we're going to be 54 years.
Wow.
So I know. We've been friends we've been friends a long time.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a story in and of itself, how we got to be friends, how we have stayed friends. But to put it in a nutshell, we have experienced all of life's ups and downs together. We have been the best of friends. And I've often said that we're sisters. We don't look the same, but we are the same. And I'm going to put it out there. I just love the shit out of you, Martha.
Oh my goodness. Oh, okay.
Right? It's been a long time.
I love you too, Judy. My goodness.
I know.
Judy has fought battles for me. And when I didn't want her to, she just jumped in there and did it anyway.
Well, what battles you talking about?
Well, when I had bought that ring at that jewelry store,
the
woman wouldn't take care of me. Judy went in there and read her the riot act. Do you remember that?
Yeah, because
Bobby Simons.
Yes, we both enjoy a little bit of bling. Me more so, I think, than Martha. But she loves amethysts and rings, and I had stopped in at this shop, and I bought a ring from them. Had I known what they were like, I wouldn't have bought it from them. But I went back and said to Martha, "Oh my God, there's like these really beautiful rings, amethyst rings or whatever. And, the stores really got some nice stuff." And I thought, that they were nice people, but they weren't nice people. And on my recommendation, Martha went there to shop, and they were not kind to her. And I didn't go in with her. She was on her own. She stopped in the shop on her own. And then she told me what a terrible experience was. I was furious. I was really furious. And I went back and I gave him a piece of my mind.
Yeah.
Huh? As Gigi, we follow this one gal. She's a knitter. Also happens to be Black. And she has this phrase about standing in the gap, which white people are supposed to do when they observe or
Racism.
race. Yeah,
And inequality and injustice. Yeah.
yeah. So I stood in the gap a
Yes.
long time ago.
Yeah. Well, a lot of those kind of people, they're worse when a Black person goes in on their own. They don't show themselves to all the time.
Right.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, she wasn't prejudiced against me. I was white. She was white. That was, I didn't know. I couldn't have known. And it never occurred to me that
that Martha was going to be treated any differently. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and that's part of, I think, our origin story is how yes, Martha knows she's Black. I know I'm white, but that doesn't mean
the best part is the way we actually connected, because Judy and I worked in the record department at Abraham and Straus together
in Brooklyn.
Yes, in Brooklyn, New York, way back when it was Abraham and Straus. And so I'm working there. I'm fresh out of Jim Crow South, where there's no relationship with white people other than you're an employee. So I'm an employee in there. And I meet Judy, and Judy wants to have lunch with me and everything. And I keep saying, no, I can't have lunch with you. So one day she stopped me dead in my tracks and she said, why won't you have lunch with me? And I looked at her and I said, because you're white and I'm Black, and Black and white people don't socialize together. And she looked at me and she said, when I look at you, I don't see Black, I see a friend. I don't see color, I see a friend. And from that day, I mean, how could you not be a friend?
Yeah.
And that was that. And after that, and then we made a pledge together. We decided if our husbands don't like each other, we would still be friends. And if
our children didn't like each other,
and if kids didn't like each other, we would still be friends. And lo and behold, our husbands got along perfectly, and our kids are like sisters and brothers right now.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's just a beautiful. I mean, don't think they didn't have little quirks. They have sister brother quirks, and then they get over it. And it's just been an incredible blessing to have Judy in my life.
It's a family.
Yeah,
we're a family.
Yeah.
Well, when I met your son, Martha, in LA, I think it was after the opening of the Granny Square project at Craft and Folk Art. A bunch of us went to.
Yes.
Right. So I barely knew Judy at the time. I didn't know all of the riches I was in for, but Jeremy, right? Jeremy was there. And so Judy says to me, "This is my son, Jeremy." And he's kind of laughing. And I'm like, okay, I am not going to ask the details. I'll find out eventually. But I understand. So I came to understand, of course.
Yes. Because frequently I will say, oh, this is my first son, my firstborn son. And Josh will be standing right next to Jeremy. And I point to Jeremy because Jeremy's older than Josh by about a year. So
Jeremy he's kind of laughing. So I'm thinking, okay, there's more to this.
But it's so great that we're here in North Carolina and Judy is in California and my Jeremy is in California, and they get together and it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
Because I feel like he's never alone. Even with COVID, they got together.
Yeah.
And the two boys just came back from a week-long vacation. They went off to
Joshua.
Jackson.
Oh no!
No. They went
Jackson
Hole. They went to Wyoming.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And they're big avid snowboarders. They're both. I think Jeremy a tiny bit more than Josh. Very physical. They surf. They They do motorbike riding. They do all hiking. They do all kinds of great activities together. They're brothers.
They're like Josh is like the little brother keeping up with the big brother.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I gotta tell you, we talk about the kids. The very best story that I love, and Martha wasn't there for it, is when I was pregnant with my daughter Jessica. We were living back east, and Martha, her husband Frank, was an accountant at Goldman Sachs. Okay, so he was
Cooper's and Lybrand, somewhere, one of those.
Somewhere, yeah, he was Wall Street.
Yeah.
So he's black, and he is just this. We're talking. Jesse is going to be 34, so we're talking like 34 years ago. He's coming home from New York. He's on the commuter train. So it's all, and we lived in Princeton. So it's, the big university town, the big, it's just all of the suits, all the suits. And Martha asked me to pick Frank up from the train station, and I was sure. So I went over to get him at the train station. I parked, and I get out of the car. I'm massively pregnant. And it was, I think, might have been like the summer or something. And she was born in September. So, big pregnant woman. And I get up, I don't know, because the way the train station was, I got out of the car, and I think I might have been like on the platform or something, because Frank wasn't expecting me to pick him up.
Right.
So I see him coming down the platform with the hordes of commuters. Mostly, men in suits, and a lot of white men in suits. And anyway, I yell out to Frank. I'm yelling, Frank, I'm here. I said, the baby and I have missed you. Welcome. Oh, it was like, whatever I said, it was so funny. Frank was mortified. He couldn't believe what I did. And of course, everybody is like looking at me, looking at him. And I loved it, because that's totally my MO. Boy, he was shocked. He was so surprised. And then, of course, I run up and have to give him a big hug and kiss, So, it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I think it was pretty funny.
That's classic Judy, though. Classic.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is totally my MO. So, but it was funny. I wish I had a camera and I got his face. And then the reaction of the mass of people. It was good. It was a good one. Oh, I know, right?
Yeah.
We have fun stories. Oh my God. We have so many stories because we've shared our lives together.
Right.
For all of this time.
You were like 19, Judy, when you met Martha, right?
Ooh.
Yeah. Actually, I was, late 18s, early 19. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were young.
It's been a couple of years. It's been a couple of years.
Yeah.
For sure.
So Judy she would rent a house at the beach, and we would always tag along. And when she invited me to do the art
Long Beach Island.
Yeah, Long Beach Island. When she invited me to do the art project with her, she invited me to be a part of the art project. The poetry that I wrote for the art project is memories of a story my son told me when he was on the beach with Judy. Actually, he told me about the riptide. And so I put together this poem, The Healing Water. What?
Tell me that story about
Okay, he was at the beach with you. He got caught in a riptide, and he was struggling trying to get out of the water, and he found that he could not get out of the water. So he relaxed and let the water take him. He just let the water take him. And he ended up about a mile downstream or down the ocean. And the water just dumped him off onto the shore, and he came back to the house. You didn't know that?
Wow.
I never told you that. Wow. Well, that's how that was the thought and the motivation for that poem.
Wow.
Riptide is.
And Jeremy is a phenomenal swimmer. He swam in high school. He did the butterfly, because he is just. Oh, my cat is being obnoxious today. Sorry about the cat butt, but
Jeremy wasn't a swimmer at that time. I don't know how he knew to trust the water. I don't know how he knew to trust that water. And he just relaxed in the water and stopped fighting. And that's what happened. That's how he saved himself. Amazing.
Wow.
It was thrilling when he told me.
Wow. And the thing that I remember about your kids at the beach was that her daughter, Crystal, she has Crystal's older than her brother.
18 months.
And she was a pest because I was like I was cooking, and apparently I did not make eggs the way her mother made eggs, and she didn't want to eat my eggs, and I was pissed.
It turns out that she really doesn't like eggs as an adult.
Well, there you
go.
There you go. Exactly right. And so, who knew? But anyhow, we used to have so much fun. I mean, not used to. We still have so much fun.
Yeah,
the kids still have so much. Yeah. And now I get to enjoy Martha's grandkids, and they are amazing. Crystal's children, and
because Jeremy doesn't have children yet.
Not yet.
Or
taking a sweet time.
Yeah, I mean,
or not to make assumptions. I mean, because I know my daughter's probably never going to have children. So, yeah. So, and we're here to talk about Martha's poetry.
Ooh, that's right.
And does anybody have a copy of Martha's book so we can show the cover?
Oh, that's you, Judy.
Yes, I have a copy.
And we have posted this on Instagram. So
okay.
And also, let me say that I know that this book is available on Amazon, and there's a link to this book that's in the comments under this video for those who are for for later. And I think it's probably available for anybody who's watching us live right now because the link is already in the YouTube.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, buy this book.
Okay. So, so what? Yeah. So let's talk about Martha's poetry.
Yeah. Tell us, Martha, how did the book come about? What's the story behind the book?
First of all, I had never, that was not on my list of things to do, to publish a book. This just happened. I like helping people, and this friend approached me and was crying about her relationship with her daughter. And I sat and watched her cry and listened to her. And when, after a while, she looked up at me and she said, "Can you help me?" I had no idea how I could help her with her daughter. I honestly didn't know her that well. I had never met her daughter, and I just didn't know her that well. But we connected. We just connected as women. When she was, so I looked at her and I said, "I can help you. I will write a book of poetry and invite your daughter back into your life." Whew. I don't know where that came
was pretty. Yeah, that's a pretty amazing statement.
Yes, and I started writing poetry, and I would be in a hotel room early in the morning, and the words would just come to me. I didn't know that I was going to write. I didn't know I was going to publish the book, but when I had compiled enough poems with these messages of love, forgiveness, unconditional love, moving on. I had to include moving on because there was no guarantee that this girl was going to read this poem and decide, oh, I'm coming back to my mother. But I knew the mother had been ill. So I wrote a poem looking down on me. And that one was saying, you've waited too long and I'm gone. And people are looking down. But even though it was about the mother and the daughter's relationship, that poem was actually inspired by my mother, because she would say, I don't want anybody looking down on me, which was really odd for her to say that, because we always like a big funeral and a long line and people coming by the view to body and all that. But she said those words and they kind of stuck. And when it was time for me to write a poem, I used her words. There was, go ahead.
What does that mean? The looking down on me, meaning she didn't want mom didn't want a funeral, or she didn't want people coming to see her?
It was really weird because she was going to a lot of funerals and she started observing as an older, when she was in her late 80s, she started observing how people come to your funeral and they just stand there and they look at you. And she happened to just say the words. I have no idea what she meant by that. But the poem Looking Down on Me in the book speaks to the daughter, saying that you waited too long. Because in that, I think in that, I could read it, I guess, if you want me to. Okay,
read the poem.
It says, looking down on me. I planted a seed and asked God to make sure it would grow. The seed was my prayer you would come to me. That was the last seed I planted, and now you are here with me. Today, my eyes are closed, and you stand looking down on me. Know in your heart that I prayed for the day you would return to me. On this day, my prayers have been answered. All the days I prayed for your return have come to rest on this day when my eyes are closed and you are looking down on me. My prayers are answered. God works in his own time. You waited and my time ran out. Now you are looking down on me. You are here and I thank God. I love you. I loved you with all my heart.
So so don't wait, because you might only have them, you might be talking to them in their casket. And so don't wait to reconnect. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how these words came to me. I just know that I feel like I'm a vessel sometimes, because the words just come and when I read the poems, I'm thinking, wow, I wrote that. But getting back to how the book got published, I shared the poems with my brother, and I was about to just give her the whole collection of poems. My brother looked at him and he said, oh, you can't give these poems away. You have to publish them first. Well, lo and behold, I didn't know anything about publishing. So I ran and found a publisher. I didn't put a foreword in. I didn't put an introduction. I didn't put a dedication page. You open the book and boom, there are all the poems. So when you read the poems, you easily relate them to either some experience you've had, someone you know, or something that you relate to in your life. But on the back cover, it kind of gives a little bit of information of how they were inspired and what they were about. But I really just decided, and with my situation at the time, I felt like, oh, I got to get this book published before something happens to me. It just so happened that in that time frame, I was diagnosed with 2 aneurysms in the back of my head.
Oh.
And when the doctor told me that, I said, oh my God, I got to get this book published. So my goal was just to get it published. I didn't it's because my brother had said that. And I did. I got it published. So it was just not something planned, but it turned out to be a very good thing, because now that I've had time to kind of recover, I've actually featured it in a local bookstore in my town, in Southern Pines, a nearby town rather. And I've been picked up by a few book clubs that plan to have me come for book discussions with it.
That's great.
Yeah.
What happened with your friend and her daughter? Did anything?
No.
Did daughter ever get the poetry, or?
Well, I haven't. They're not in. I haven't been able to get the book to the daughter because I don't know the daughter. I don't know where she lives, and the mother, since she doesn't have contact with her. But it was really on me to get the book to the daughter, but that's not something I really could do because I don't know her and don't know where she is. There was, yeah, I've made one attempt, but it didn't work out. So the book helps everybody else, and maybe one day she'll get a copy because it's in the local bookstore. Right.
And how is the mother doing? Are your friends still?
Yes. Yeah, we talk, right? She has not. She doesn't. I think the book helped her because she kind of tries to move on, and she maintained her relationship with her mother. So she did things with her mother that she was wishing that her daughter would do with her.
Well, that's amazing. You know, so what you did help your friend and other people, and you never know what other ripple effects there will be.
Right. Yeah. And the funny thing is, I came home from my Toastmaster meeting, and I told my daughter, I said, because one of the members had heard some of the readings of the poem, because I practice at Toastmasters, and he asked me to write a poem in honor of his wife who had dementia. And my daughter looked at me and she says, "Oh, you're being commissioned to write poetry now?" And I said, "Oh my goodness, what does that mean?" And my husband said, "That means you're supposed to get paid." But I wrote the poem, and he absolutely loved the poem that I wrote about his wife. And I wrote a poem to a mother who lost her only son to cancer. And I don't know, I just write, and I actually give the poems to the people I write them about. And I wrote one for my sister, and she just loved it. I wrote one for Judy, and she loved it. And it apparently, I mean, my inspiration comes from my own personal experience and how I
you can't silence all the phones, I guess.
No, I guess you can't. That'll go away. But anyway, I should take that off. Let me take it off. Anyway, but they come from my personal experience. They come from my feelings. Like I can actually, my empathy when I listen to people in pain. So it's,
well, maybe you're expressing things that they don't have the words to, or they don't put the words together, or they don't have the impulse to write it down, but you're expressing the feelings that you get from them. So you're expressing things for other people also.
Yes. So it's been good. It's been good for me. I wrote a couple of poems basically from my perspective, like finding myself, and there are a few others about being strong. And one of my favorite poems is the one that is not included in the book that I would love to share right now, if you don't mind.
Sure, we'd love it.
Okay. This one is called Left Behind. This is my COVID poem because we were just talking about how many people were dying. We were talking about how many couples were separating, and somehow this poem just came to me. Left behind. There are lives left behind. We love and they leave. Our loved ones leave us behind. Death leaves us behind. The living leave us behind. We love and they leave, running away from problems. Leaving may be a brutal choice. Those left behind stand knee-deep in pain, full of heartache, sometimes anger. We leave lives behind, escaping the pain. Survival caused us to leave. Violence caused us to leave. Weakness caused us to leave. No one really knows when they will be left behind. Loved ones don't know exactly when they will leave. They are destined to leave. Sometimes they seem to fly away. We stand immobilized, frozen in pain, longing for them, wondering if we will be reunited with them. Loved ones who have moved on, maybe to another city or town, sometimes to a heavenly place. They leave us or we leave them. In life as in death, there are lives left behind.
Yeah. I was on Instagram right before we all got together here in the broadcast studio, and somebody I know posted a long post about a beloved aunt who just passed away due to COVID. And I have a friend who lost her son a week and a half ago. Now, he didn't get COVID, but his death came about because of COVID.
Wow.
The pandemic, because of him losing his job and having to move home. He had struggled with drugs and had gotten clean, but started using again and died of an overdose. And
Wow.
she said to me, this is because of COVID. He didn't get COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw my friend's post about her aunt, and I just feel like there's so many families, almost everybody is going to be touched by a death due to COVID by the time this is all over. And so many people are the ones left behind.
Left behind, yeah.
Yeah. So that's very, very moving.
Yeah.
So you have any more questions, Judy?
Well, actually, what I sort of want to touch on is the fact that your writing, though, if I think back to many years ago, you have always been a very good writer. Martha at one time was at you were a writer, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's Rider University in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And Martha was doing an associate's degree there, and you had a writing class.
Yes, it was a writing assignment. I wrote about my baptism, and I actually just wrote about different aspects of my young life with my father, with my family, and growing up in the South. Mostly about family, because I was so protected. My mother didn't want to take me around the signs, the Jim Crow signs. So we were on the farm, and she didn't take me to town very often. But so I wrote this essay, and the instructor gave me a great score and told me that I should continue writing, and that I should join Toastmasters. And I thought, oh, that's nice for her to say that. But I didn't do anything with that information at that time. But it really,
not knowing that she recognized that talent a long time ago.
Right. And when I was in high school, I was a class poet. I was go to class.
Oh, really?
Yes, and I wrote the song for my class and the poem for my class.
Oh,
Wow.
So there have been those things that I should have attached to, but I enjoy poetry. And
mhm.
one of my favorite poems was "The House by the Side of the Road," because we live far away from the highway. And
Mhm.
I love that poem. Let me live in a house by the side of the road and be a friend to man. It was one of my favorites. But
Wow.
I always love poetry.
Great.
What do you think of Amanda Gorman?
Oh my goodness.
I know. She is she is something.
She really is special.
What a shining star.
Absolutely. She is so
Yeah.
special. I
Yeah.
said, wow, she's just our Maya Angelou right now.
Yeah.
I'm just so proud of her and so happy that she.
Well, and I mean, she's the kind of young person, kind of person that gives me hope. When you see her in interviews, the way that she talks about, just the way that she speaks, she is such a great speaker.
Right. And
She very just clearly, states what she has to say, and much better than I'm doing right now.
yeah.
Oh God, and she's a native Angelino.
Ah,
And
and she has such a presence. And
Yeah.
just looking at her on the screen, she has an incredible presence, and
yeah.
she has such a light about her.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and you know what was really interesting in one of the interviews soon after the inauguration, she was speaking to Anderson Cooper. And part of her history that she talks about is having a speech impediment when she was young.
Mhm.
And one of them mentioned, well, Joe Biden had overcome stuttering. And then Anderson Cooper shared that he had a speech impediment when he was young also. And the thing that's remarkable about that is not just that all of these people were able to really achieve success, achieve goals, but that people are openly talking about these things, and that having a speech impediment when you're young doesn't need to stop you from anything,
Right.
and the lack of shame. I just think that it's great, and they're all great examples for any young people or even not so young people who have something that challenges them like that.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's I loved that.
I can tell you that just talking about the poetry sometimes brings me out of my comfort zone because I'm really quiet. I don't usually talk, and I've always been more comfortable as a support person than in a leader position.
Mm.
But I know I'm strong. It's
Mhm.
just that I prefer not to be in the spotlight. And this book is kind of putting me in a place that I would never have gone after. I'm getting more comfortable, but it's definitely showing me who I am, and
Well, Toastmasters is good for helping you with that too, isn't it? If you're shy, that's the kind of place to work on being able to talk in front of people.
I joined Toastmasters because in town we have this business, and everyone is always looking for me to say something. Well, do you have a few remarks, Martha, that you want to say? And I was thinking, no, I want to say anything. So I joined Toastmasters, and it's easy for me to make a speech and present a speech. I love talking about being a triathlete and exercise and all of that.
Mhm.
But when I start talking about my feelings, and if somebody say, "Is that poem about you?" It's like, oh, I don't want to talk about my feelings. I want to talk about things in general. So
Mhm.
I am learning how to relate to people who want to know more about me.
Mm. Mhm.
because you're sort of a little a local celebrity now. She's been on the radio a few times. And didn't you have someone come up to you on the street?
Yes, I was actually in Verizon, and she said, "Oh, Martha, I heard you on the radio the other day."
Oh,
I go, "Oh my gosh!" So,
great.
and my church members also. So it's an interesting situation, but I'm getting used to it, and it's very nice.
Well, you deserve the praise and compliments. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that you had mentioned Anderson Cooper and about Amanda, someone had asked her about when she's writing, like visualization, and she said, I don't look for visual clues at all. She finds inspiration in words.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that as an artist, I mean, that's all my junk behind me there. But, I don't look at words. I look at images.
Mm-hmm.
I look at pictures. I look at the visual, and I found it fascinating. Really, like almost like the light bulb went off in my head. I was like, oh my God, there's other ways of creating that doesn't use images.
Mm-hmm.
Do you, and I guess because I don't write and I'm not a writer, I don't think of words as having that power and that the ability to make the connection to other words. As a writer, Martha, this is a question I guess I've never asked you.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. What a shock. It's like she thought I've asked you everything. When you think, you said the poems come to you. Do they come to you as words? How does it happen? Is like, I don't know. How do you create it?
Right. I mean, do you visualize an image? Do you have a feeling that you then write about? Or is it a phrase that inspires you to write a poem? That's what Judy's asking. Judy, if I can put words in your mouth.
It's actually a feeling. So the poem that I wrote about when I wrote about the gentleman's wife and dementia, it was how I felt, and I didn't know what the poem was going to be called until the poem was finished, and the title of the poem was "Come Into My World," because a person with dementia is in a whole different world, and I just in relationship to my mom who has dementia, I thought about my experiences with her. Come into my world. This is not where I live. She will say she wants to go back to where she remembers she lived when she was younger, because and you have to go with her when she is in that framework. You have to do therapeutic fibbing, because even though you can't try to tell her this is reality, because for her, what's happening now is not reality. What she's thinking about is reality. And so in this poem, I wish I had a copy of it, that I'd have to look for it. She is talking about the struggles inside of her. She wants, and the fears that she has and the confusion that's in her world. It's just amazing. And it was amazing for me to actually, but it's really about feeling.
Yeah.
That's
right. Yeah, because there are so many different ways that different creative people come to get their inspiration and arrive at doing their work.
Do you know what I wanted to comment on is that I've seen, Martha's work for many years, her poetry. And what I'm most impressed at now, Martha, is how much more complex your poems are getting. They are growing in length and in content, in the complexity of what it is that you're writing. And I'm really proud of you for that. I really am.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And I want to say that Martha did quite a long poem with the riptide in there that, as she alluded to earlier, about a project that she and I worked on, which was Fun a Day. And Martha gave me words each day, 31 days for January, each day a word. And behind me are the pieces that I did. They were my reactions to the words. And Martha wouldn't, like, at one point wanted to explain or, to tell me what, and I was like, no, I don't want to know anything. I knew she was going to do a poem, but I didn't want to know what it was about, because I didn't want my work to be impacted by what her interpretations of those words were. So this was a really fascinating and a fun experience where I got to work with a poet and do my interpretation. And it was challenging, really hard, because some words were very difficult for me to express visually. Like, because words have so much depth.
Yeah,
it's like you really gave me a whole nother perspective and appreciation for words, because, like I said before, I'm very visually oriented, and I don't think a lot about words, and yet words is your art.
Right.
Well, words create images. I mean, we talk about imagery in poetry and in writing. I have written, and I find the process of creating images with words is not that much different than creating images with either colored, writing or painting media or materials. And when visual artists and writers and poets talk about doing their work, they use the same kind of phrases and talk about the same kind of dilemmas. So I think that there's very little difference between the art of writing and the visual arts, myself personally. I want to say, the art dot happens, and the Fun a Day exhibition that we all participated in, that virtual gallery is still live. And now that I'm talking about it, I will go back and there will be a link to that under this video, because people can still go and get a free admission ticket and visit that exhibition.
See all our work.
I didn't leave it up.
And read Martha's poem.
That's right. And see your work and everybody else's.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Martha, what did you think of that experience?
I thought it was a great experience. I haven't gone to see the exhibit yet, but I loved being a part of it.
All right.
And it was challenging for me, because I was trying to use every single word, and it really was a challenge to use every single word. I found I didn't need to use every single word to convey what I wanted in the poem, but I was really challenged also, because it was.
Martha,
go ahead.
Would you work on on more collaborative pieces? I mean, with me or with someone else? Would that be inspiring?
Yeah, I would say yes. That would be inspiring.
Right.
Because I would like to do that. The collaboration really, for me, pushed, my creative boundaries and and I would love to do more. I don't know what, but I would love to do more.
It'll come together.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Yeah.
I like that.
You guys should do that together more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there another book in the future? What do you think?
Well, I have a mentor, and she told me that this paperback book does not do my poems justice. She said I need to put them in a hardcover book, and since I have enough poems to complete another book, she said I should put them together and put them in. She also suggested that I get a book designer, even though she said the cover was really nice. I chose the cover with butterflies because butterflies is new life, and butterflies don't have a long life. So you have to get all of your work done in the present time that you live in. We tend to look back too often, and we look too far ahead. So we lose the present moment. All of the joys of this present moment are not realized because too much looking back and too much looking forward. To just be thankful for each day, even with the weather. People look at the weather and they complain and complain and complain, but it's just such a blessing. The rain is so good for your skin. I mean, there's so many things that the rain is good for. It's so refreshing. There's a poem in the book about rain, and it's kind of on the romantic side. And I think of it as being written from a young person's perspective because it talks about the rain and how it's just refreshes you. So but it's also in a romantic kind of a poem. But anyway, but we need to stay in the present and not worry about the past and just enjoy. And these times have helped us. I was talking with my husband. This has nothing to do with the book. But I was talking to my husband. We've been married 48 years. And I looked at him and I said, you know what? COVID has been pretty good. I said, because we're getting along just fine, being together all the time. And I think I'm going to keep you. And it was just funny. But, we just have to appreciate the present, this day that we have been given. And my message to anyone who's listening is that we all have a story. You may not know or realize that you have a story, but you have a story. And you really need to share that story. Find a way to share your stories. Me, I'm using poetry to share my stories and stories of other people and experiences. So it's a tool that you leave your mark and leave a legacy. So just know that you have a story in any form, and there's no right or wrong way to do it.
Well, that's right. I mean, anybody can do YouTube videos like this.
Yeah, look at us.
That's right. There are so many ways that a person can express themselves and tell their story. And I listened to a couple of podcasts where people are telling their own stories, and they are very powerful at different times. So, Mark, you're right. Everybody should honor their own story.
I think it's important to note too that you can do this at any age. You shouldn't. We're not youngins, and people sometimes of our age think, oh, that's things have passed. My life is past. Like you kind of forget, Martha, like where they are now. And wherever it is you are now, right now is the time to move forward.
Right.
So you don't have to say, well, that's all fine and good if I were 20, or, if I was in my 30s, I could do that. Or, that's not the point.
Yep.
The point is your story is right now.
Yes.
So your story, whether you want to share it like on YouTube, or and with people now, there's so many social media platforms where you can share, or you can sit down with. For me, it would be a pad of paper and a pen, and I would, if I were to write, that's how I would do it. But I know, and I've asked you, Martha, how do you write? When you write, you are like my computer or a paper, or you're kind of ambidextrous that way.
Sometimes I really need a notebook all the time, because I lose poetry, because if you don't write it down, it just goes away.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I mean, many writers carry a little notebook around with them because, they hear a line, or somebody says a line, or they think a line and write it down right away, because that can be the kernel to something that they're going to develop later.
Right.
And I have, I'm a little bit younger than both of you, but still fucking old, and but
No.
I have experienced in the last few years times when I thought, oh, it's over. I'll never, I'm too old to do this, or I'm too old to do that. And funny thing, I mean, COVID has made so many changes. It'll be interesting 5 years from now, God willing, we're all here to look back and assess how we have changed because of COVID. But somebody posted something somewhere on social media that I copied, and it goes to what we're talking about now. It's a whole list of things that people have done at different ages. And like Catherine Bigelow, the director, she made the Hurt Locker when she was 57. That was, when she reached success. Grandma Moses didn't begin her painting career until 76. Louise Bourgeois, whose artwork I love, didn't become a famous artist until she was 78.
Wow.
Yeah. And I, and there was more, but Judy is absolutely right. It's never too late to do anything. It's never too late to begin. And Martha's a great example, because you wrote earlier in your life. You received praise for writing earlier in your life. And then I guess you didn't really pursue it I know that you have been in business for many years and very busy, very consumed by your businesses with your husband. And now at this age, you've returned to writing, and you are doing well with it. It's impacting people, and people are enjoying it. And it's been decades since that essay in school. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, but I think that's the beauty of living, is that we get to make those choices.
Well, and Judy and I don't remember when it was. We both decided, no, it's not getting older. We don't mind getting older. We don't like the effects of aging, but we really want to be getting older.
Yeah.
We want to be wiser also.
Yeah. And
definitely wiser.
Yeah, that's true.
Self-preservation. Take this time to take care of yourself, because we've been taking care of everybody else forever.
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, Martha, I want to say thank you for joining us today. I hope that it was a fun experience.
Absolutely. It was a fun experience. Thank you so much for having me. This is amazing. This is amazing. I love it.
Entirely our pleasure.
It feels so warm and nice.
It's easy, right?
Yeah.
Martha was a little apprehensive at first because, not knowing how I said it's just like sitting across from the table with each other and chatting.
Right.
Martha, by the way, also does crochet, so we might get her on. And her grandson is crocheting. Oh my God!
That's great. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So
we got it. We got to teach the young people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
we love this technology where we can be with people like from North Carolina and from anywhere. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this. Thank you so much.
Okay, and so to our audience, we'll say goodbye. We do have another guest next week. We haven't confirmed her, so we'll be posting on social media who our guest is, and hope to see everybody soon. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. All right, bye everyone. Bye. Bye.